Now it's where you find some of the biggest business news and economic stories making the headlines around the world today. Let's talk about West Africa's second largest economy, Ghana. The president, John Mahama, says his government will maintain strict fiscal discipline ahead of November general elections in order to avoid repeating the mistakes made during the 2012 general elections that brought him into office. President Mahama was speaking to members of the parliament during a State of the Nation's address.
Mahama, who is seeking a second term, faces a tough battle against opposition leader Nana Akufo-Addo during presidential elections scheduled for November. Some economists are warning the government not to overspend in a bid to win victory.
We must practice an even greater degree of fiscal prudence in 2016. The bane of our economic management has been the cyclical, huge election year budget deficits. It is an unfavorable narrative for which Ghana, unfortunately, has become famous. I have assured the nation and our partners that my administration will exercise strict fiscal discipline even in this election year.
During the previous election in 2012, hikes of civil service wages caused the deficit to mushroom, triggering a fiscal crisis that the government is working to overcome with the aid of an International Monetary Fund program. Power generation will likely be another critical election issue after years of crippling blackouts that have hurt businesses and angered voters. Mahama has faced vocal public criticism because of power shortages and economic troubles.
The president has not been able to tell us the level of unemployment in this country and what, within the 3 years that he's been in office, what he's been able to do to address this deficit in unemployment. And for me, it is worrying. We see daily and annually that we churn over about 53,000 graduates a year. How many of them are being able to employ in a particular given year? And this has not been attended to. So for me, it is a major setback in this State of the Nation address.
If you've come and you have continued and some people have benefited, you have to bring them to Parliament to show, are you doing a serious business or you are doing propaganda? I've never seen anything like this before, and I've sat through State of the Nation address for 16 years. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, it is so cheap. It cheapens the entire occasion, that takes away from the seriousness of the occasion, and I'm terribly disappointed.
Many of the streets of Accra agree the government's critics and say they are struggling to cope with the economic challenges.
For me, for instance, I've graduated from the tertiary institution for the past 2 years, looking for a job so that I can make a living comfortable for myself. And there is no avail, so I have to travel far from the Volta region to the Greater Accra region to make some money for myself.
Mahama has vowed to pursue prudent economic management to eradicate poverty and create jobs, adding that Ghanaians should have faith in his government.
So let's ask how much faith are Ghanaians having in President Mahama's administration. Let's cross over to Ghana, where I'm being joined via telephone by the president of Nobel International Business School, Professor Kwaku Atuahehene-Gima. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you for your time too.
So I'm going to go straight to the question. Do you have faith in President John Mahama's administration?
That's a very direct question. I think observers, some observers believe that they are doing very well. Of course, if you talk to other observers, they are not doing that well. But I think all these things have to be seen in the light of the expectations of Ghanaians. Ghanaians have become quite demanding in their expectations of government. And therefore, irrespective of what a government does, you have a section of the population that says the government is not doing well, while others will say the government is doing well. But I personally think that, overall, there is a marked improvement in what the government said it was going to do. But there is a lot of work to be done to bring Ghana's economy up to here.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor. We understand there are a lot of work to be done. But very surprising how Ghana slipped into the current economic malaise. Are you not surprised?
In many ways, I'm surprised because we built a very strong footing for great progress, and the expectations of the population was kind of heightened by the promises that the political parties, including the current government, made to the people of Ghana. And I suggest that, they brought these kind of high expectations on themselves, the problems they brought onto themselves. The reason for that comment is that if you tell people and you do not help people to really understand the challenges the economy is facing and make, outward promises, then most likely you're going to fail in meeting the expectations of the people. And that is why a lot of people are surprised that the government, and not only this government, the previous government too, have not been able to do much better for Ghana. For example, you look at the area of unemployment among the youth. So many promises have been made by previous governments, including this one, about helping the youth to get employment. And so many initiatives have been kind of initiated in Ghana in order to solve the problem, but you still see the problem persisting. And most importantly, particularly in this unemployment area, there are a lot of scandals that have happened in Ghana with respect to projects that were designed to support youth employment, but money was squandered in different areas. So I think overall, the whole problem is brought by the government onto itself.
Now, you Ghanaians are heading for another general elections in a couple of months from now. What is likely to change?
I think the narrative is going to change because the government would be placing a positive spin on whatever is done so far, while the opposition would try as much as possible to put a negative spin on what the government has been doing. But, Ghanaians are kind of very sophisticated now politically. They can see through, political things. And I think if the current government is going to really do well, it must be honest with the Ghanaian people about what it has been able to do and what it was not able to do and why. Because Ghanaians could be very understanding if they understand the issues that are involved. But if you try to kind of mislead and they find out, then you're going to be in a big problem.
Professor Kwaku Atuahehene-Gima, we thank you for your time today for this conversation. But of course, we're going to keep you in the loop. And you keep us in the loop as well in the days and weeks ahead before the elections to revisit this very important economy in West Africa. Let's talk about Nigeria, the biggest economy within the African continent, and of course within the subcontinent, West Africa, accounting for more than 30% of the population. Well, let's look at how things are shaping up. All economic analysts have continued to pick holes with the President Buhari's 2016 budget. Olusegun Onigbede is the founder of the group known as Budget. It's a company that works to simplify budgets and get Nigerians to understand them. Onigbede advocates for a clear policy guide and a zero-based budgeting process.
Then presented the budget on December 22, 2015. From a policy standpoint, it looked like a fair proposition. But when the details trickled in, and because when it was presented, the capital expenditure rose by from 775 billion to over 1.8 trillion naira. So it looked like something that would look good. But by the time you check into the line items that make up the capital expenditure, it doesn't still show a country in the mood of austerity. When this government was campaigning, and the critical element in the campaign was change, that we're going to change the way we do things, the way public funds were spent. But most importantly, what came up, you still find computers, you still find nebulous items like monitoring and evaluation, research and development. You still find people buying vehicles, you still find people buying office furniture for over R1 billion. So one of the things I said was, this is really, really depressing. And when we expected that this should be a total shift from the wasteful culture that we had in the past. There's still no clear policy guide. And I think until you tackle that and you build in a zero-based budget and you start early, we do things in a rush. The ministers came in November. We want a zero-based budget by December. It is nearly impossible because the zero-based budget puts the baseline as zero. It starts from zero. assumes that nothing is going on before. Then he begins to plan on existing infrastructure. What do I do different? What can I accelerate to make happen? A lot of things like that did not happen. So I think the government needs to come back and think through all of these things. But most of I would say 3 things. Let's align our policies to our resource allocation. Let it be a clear policy. Let's start early. And third is the capacity building for the ministry agencies, for the agencies.
Okay, you see there on your TV screen the ticker tape for the bond and treasury markets in Nigeria for today, the first trading day of the week. We'll talk to that after the break. We got the Vice President and Head of Fixed Income Trading at Citibank Nigeria talk to us after the break. We'll get a few insights into what's been our intraday position at the FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange. Stick around. We'll be back in one.